And we continue with the Advent series with the third Tuesday of Advent, December 13th. There was an episode of Seinfeld called The Blood where Jerry suffers an unfortunate accident and ends up in the hospital. When he learns that Kramer is the blood donor, he freaks out, and frankly, it's one of the funniest scenes on that show. To add to that, at the end when Jerry suffers another freak accident and again ends up in the hospital, he is horrified to learn that Newman now is the donor, and again he freaks out, along with Kramer and Newman. That is comedy gold right there. I was watching it again recently and was wondering, how the hell is it that Kramer and Newman were the same blood type as Jerry? It's freakishly weird that both neighbors would be able to share their blood with Jerry and nothing would happen. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? In any case, there's a slim chance that the person sitting next to you would be the exact same blood type as you, let alone two people. But I doubt when people begin seeking out their suitable partner, they don't make blood type a certain criteria. Unless they do, then they're just fucking bizarre and wasting a lot of time, because it just says they may or may not anticipate getting seriously hurt in the near future, and that may be a call for this measure. The 1990s was to my generation what the 1960s were to my parents or your grandparents. It was a time of cultural explosion that defined the milieu of what it meant to be an American. If you had the benefit of being a child from 1991 to 96, there were plenty of great shows that came out that shaped your childhood. Nickelodeon and Fox Kids were the mecca for Saturday japes. And with the recent passing of the great Kevin Conroy, we can reflect on how much of an impact they had on our lives. If you were an avid reader of the Batman comics such as myself, when you read those stories, you hear Kevin Conroy's voice. And he kept Batman dark at a time when camp, very much a 1960s thing, was the order of the day when it came to Batman. Thank you, Joel Schumacher. For me, 1993 to 96 was the best time to be a kid. So many great shows came on that, at that time, seemed cool, but now they were cerebral. I am, of course, referring to The Adventures of Pete and Pete, which, looking back now, was such a brilliantly written and performed show that it's hard-pressed to find anything comparable. No, I don't give two shits what you say. No children's show will ever hold a candle to Pete and Pete. You know why? Because it encapsulated the spirit of the decade. You watched it and felt comfort. You knew that it felt like home. There was nothing artificial, nothing forced, nothing corporate, as much as I disdained the hipster lingo. It was on Nickelodeon, but it was indie. I suppose one could say that planted the seed for the hipster mentality you'd see 20 years later. Batman the Animated Series was another nugget that came on during that time, and it was a blessing for those old enough to watch and remember it. I pity the people born in 1992 and onward because they really missed out. It was one of those things where if you were there and you saw it, you had it good. And running down your neighborhood street, you knew that what you were experiencing was the same as what you saw on TV. It was a mirror into your lives and you saw yourself in it. The characters on the show were just as normal and relatable as you and your mates. After 1996 and 97, you felt there was a decline. For me, it was a sense of loss. All the certainties I had the 3 to 4 years were gone. You looked forward, yes, but what we got paled in comparison to what was before. Rocko's Modern Life, Real Monsters, Rugrats, and the others were on, but they were syndicated, but for the most part. The spirit of the decade seemed to have been released and sent to the ether, where it's yet to be found. maybe it's not meant to be found. For that brief period of time, we had a very precious jewel that brought joy into our lives, for those lucky enough to benefit from it. Those who came after could receive it as well, but it seemed less potent now as it was then.